Good morning, runners. Coach Gemma here, joined by physical therapist from HSS, Hector, Lozada. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to be here on what is a very hot and humid day in New York City.
It is. It's my favorite weather.
It is. I would disagree with that. This is not my favorite weather. This humidity is very hot, very humid. I've just got back from London where it was nice and cool, and I've been welcomed by a very warm heat wave back in the city.
Well, I grew up in this weather, so it feels like home.
Oh, it feels like home to you.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
All right, well, we have a jam-packed schedule today, so we are going to go straight for it. So welcome to the Coaches Chat. If you are viewing online, where are you viewing from? If you want to pop your questions into the chat where you're calling in from, we will get back to you, shortly, but got lots to get through this morning. So last weekend, we had the TCS New York City Marathon Training 12-miler in Central Park. Let us know how if you ran it, how did it go? Super fun day out there. I've heard loads of really cool stories of people running that event. Coach Ben was out there, Coach Steve was out there. A lot of our friends were out there running, so let us know how that went. We have the Fifth Avenue Mile coming up, so a little bit of a different distance, but let us know if you are running that as well. Put your questions in the chat. Let us know where you were calling from. All right, we're going to move into section 1 of the chat. So, Hector, most of our runners are in the middle of their TCS New York City Marathon training. What would you say the best way to avoid injuries during these high mileage weeks? What would they be?
I think there's a lot that we could be talking about in that regard right now. One thing is to really be able to know your body. As the miles increase now, we're trying to keep up with the program, and it's easy to sort of ignore those little signs of our body that are telling us that maybe you need to either take a day off, or you need to deviate a little bit from the program, or do a little bit more recovery. So I think maybe thinking that you are your best coach, like you know your body more than anybody else, and to try to see how you can adjust things so you can continue to keep up with the longer runs in a way that you're not overtraining. That's probably the best advice. And there are many other smaller things that you can think, like in terms of nutrition, hydration, quality of sleep, and just I think. But it all goes back to being able to really know your body, listen to your body, and try to adjust based on that.
I think that is such important advice. That's something I also tell our runners all the time. Listen to your body, because, us as coaches, we're giving you plans, we're giving you programs, but at the end of the day, if you know something's not right, only you really know that. So listening to your body is such great advice.
Yeah.
Do you think this advice will help new runners that are entering the sport, runners that have been running for a long time?
Yeah. Yes, in terms of the difference between more experienced or more inexperienced runners, what we know from research is that inexperienced runners, or people who started running more recently, they have a higher chance or higher incidence of injury. Anywhere between 50 to 80% of new runners will report some sort of injury as they're training for a marathon, different from more experienced runners. That percentage will be somewhere between 30 to 50%. And those numbers are telling you already that injury during training for marathons is quite high. And I think a big part of it is knowledge. Probably the more experienced runners, they know their bodies better. They sort of know what to expect and how to change their plan based on what's happening in their body. And that's something that, in terms of knowledge, the more inexperienced runners don't have as much. And then knowledge combined with experience. Knowing that what to expect as you continue to increase the mileage. But So knowing your body will definitely will be helpful for both groups, but knowing that the more novice runners will likely need to pay attention to it even more.
That's such great advice. I guess as a new runner, you're more inclined to think, I have to do everything 100%. I have to do everything perfectly.
Yeah, right. We see the training program, and we see the long runs and the recovery runs and the speed runs, and we're eager to do well. And we, depending on your personality as well, right? So some people can try to really stick to the program, and it's so easy to at some point ignore what's happening in our body because we have the goal and we know that we want to stick to it so we can get to the finish line at the time that we want to. But it's those little moments in which you're ignoring your body that could potentially cascade into eventually an injury.
Yeah, and that's what we really don't want. We want to get to that start line feeling healthy. It's 9 weeks away, that start line of the TCS New York City Marathon. 9 weeks and 4 days.
9 weeks, wow.
9 weeks and 4 days. So we want to get there healthy. And so making sure that, we're giving ourselves that time to rest. So if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling a little bit sore, it's important to listen to that body, which is going to be really important.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to play one of my favorite games. This game is called Fact or Fiction. So I'm going to give you 5 common injury prevention techniques, and you are going to tell me the truth behind that. So is it fact or is it fiction? Are you ready for this?
I am ready. I'm ready. Yeah.
All right. 1, ice baths.
Ice baths, yes. So there is evidence that if you take ice baths, you can recover better. There's some recovery, especially recovery of muscle microtrauma that happens during long runs. And you will probably have less of that soreness that you get a day or two after. But it's suggested that you don't do ice baths very often, and definitely not after every single run, because when you put your body in that temperature, which is typically around 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you are decreasing inflammation, and inflammation to some level is necessary for muscle adaptation. So that sort of progress that your body's doing to become stronger, to improve the endurance so you can run longer, to some level you will be dampening that effect if you are doing ice baths all the time. So I would say do it sparingly, especially maybe on the longer runs. If you can be able to tell what's the temperature between 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and for about 10 to 15 minutes.
That is a long time to be in an ice bath. I can't even do it for 2 seconds. I can't even get in.
That is a long time, but that's what's suggested, or whatever you can tolerate.
I love that. So yes, but not every day.
Not every day, maybe once a week.
After the long run.
After the long run.
Okay, Awesome. Number 2, Tylenol or over-the-counter prescriptions.
Yes, over-the-counter prescriptions for pain are typically either a plain painkiller or a painkiller that is also an anti-inflammatory. So Tylenol is just a painkiller. Other things like aspirin will be an anti-inflammatory. It's suggested that you ideally don't take either. It's better not to, because in general, you want to be able to feel what your body's telling you, pain being a message that your body's telling you. And if you take either of those, you will not have that knowledge. If you are to take something because you're in pain, it's much better to take a Tylenol, because if you take anti-inflammatories, those have some negative effects. So definitely the suggestion is do not take anti-inflammatories before a run. And the reasons are vast. It could affect your kidney function. It could affect your gastrointestinal system. It could decrease sodium on your body. It definitely will, like an ice bath as well, it can decrease sort of the natural inflammation that happens on your muscles that will, in the long term, actually decrease your endurance and your strength. So suggested if you're going to take something, take Tylenol, not anti-inflammatories, and if possible, don't take anything.
Awesome. I like that. It goes back to listening to your body, right? And you want to be able to feel what it is.
Yes, yes.
All right. Number 3, lifting heavy weights at the gym.
Yeah, yeah. The answer is yes. You should do weight training. You should do weight training, not only when you're training for the marathon, but doing weight training as you're training for the marathon. It is recommended because you will be getting your muscles stronger, which will have better running economy. If your muscles have better strength, they will be able to do the job that you're putting them to do with less effort. So it can decrease the risk of injuries. And I think, so weight training is a very big umbrella. There are many ways to do weight training, and it's recommended that you focus weight training on the muscles that will support the muscles that will prevent certain injuries that happen very often. So we have very often injuries in the knees, in the feet. So the recommendation, just a very broad recommendation, is to focus on your core and your buttock muscles, especially for runners. So yes, the answer is yes to weight training.
Yes, weight training. Runners, did you hear that? We need to cross-train as well as run.
Yes, yes, not only running.
All right, number 4, eating protein and taking protein supplements.
Yeah. In that regard, first of all, you should have an idea of how much protein you are intaking. So you can have a log about what kind of foods are you eating, and it is very important to have enough protein in our bodies for all the repair that the muscles are doing when we're running long distances. And so the two main sources will be just natural foods. And then if you are not intaking enough protein from natural food, then protein supplements are okay. They can definitely help for protein synthesis in the muscles, and our muscles use both carbohydrates and proteins to recover. We typically, the average person eats enough carbs without having to make too much of an effort, but not always protein. So the first thing is to know what's your protein intake, and there are guidelines in terms of grams of protein per kilograms of body weight per day, and you can find that online. If you keep a log of how you eat for, let's say, a week, and you see that you're not reaching that number, then you should use some protein supplements, and they come in powders, in bars, in drinks. And then you will, it's better if you have it right after the run, like somewhere between 30 minutes to 2 hours after your workouts for the best benefit of it.
Awesome. So make sure you take in that protein after those exercises and make sure you're getting enough of that.
Yes.
And then finally, dedicating one day to rest. So no gym, no running.
Just full rest.
Full rest. I love those days.
There's some controversy in that regard, but I think if we are not elite runners, professional runners, and that's our profession, which most probably people who are listening to today, that's not our full-time profession, then the answer is yes. I would suggest, or the suggestion is that somewhere between 7 to 10 days that you take 1 day of rest, and that seems to be the general consensus. And again, there's controversy in that regard, but I think most training plans for a marathon will allow for rest. And again, it comes back to your personality. Some people really like to do something, so maybe on those days that you're supposed to be fully resting, you can do a very, very small workout, or maybe a cross-training workout that is light, maybe without weights or just body weight, or a yoga class, or a tiny run. But ideally, you would just rest. Yeah.
Awesome. Those were great fact versus fiction. Thank you. Let's throw it back to the chat. Have we got any questions? Shout out.
We have one question from Rob. He asks, is it better to do your long run at the beginning of the week or the end?
Is it better to do the long runs at the beginning of the week or at the end?
Yeah.
I think that there are many ways of thinking about it, depending on your life and your job and family responsibilities and how your days and your weeks are looking like. Maybe that's a question for you. What do you think?
I think you started answering that really well. I would agree with that. Everyone's week looks very different. So not everyone works a standard Monday to Friday. So someone's weekend may be on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. So really finding that balance and finding that time that works for you for that long run and keeping it consistent. So, if your long run is every Tuesday, the rest of your week kind of follows along with that plan. So you're allowing for that rest time, the weekly ice bath, all of those things. But it doesn't have to be on a Saturday or a Sunday. It doesn't have to be on a Monday, but really finding that plan that works with you, your commitments, your schedule. And that's where having a coach is really helpful because, we have runners, we have athletes all the time that, their long run is on a Tuesday and their speed workout is on the weekend. So Monday to Friday could be your standard week, but so could Wednesday. That could be your Monday.
Yeah, I'm also thinking like if you slept well that night before, maybe that's possibly a good day for a long run. Or if you had a couple of drinks the night before, maybe that's not a good day for a long run.
Yeah, and it comes down to, again, listening to your body and realizing what's going to work for you. And then it's summer here as well in the city, so people going on vacation, if you've been on wow, there's so many things that can play into when you do your long run. That is a you question.
Yeah.
I love new runners. Welcome to the sport, Taylor.
Yeah, welcome. So pain behind the kneecap, and it doesn't get better when she's running slower or when she's stretching. So pain behind the kneecap is very common, and it's even more common on females. And the thought is that because females' hips are just a little wider, the angle of the leg when it hits the ground is a little bit different than males. Most of the time, the proper kind of exercise for pain behind the kneecap would be a combination of some strengthening with some stretching. So if you're only doing stretching, most likely there are certain muscles that you should also strengthen. And you obviously can find some information like that on the internet. If you wanted to search the proper term, it would be patellofemoral pain syndrome. Patellofemoral pain syndrome. You can find some exercise for that. If you feel that you want to go a little deeper than that, then you can speak with a physical therapist or a physician that they will analyze your body, try to figure out what is going on and help you that way. Another consideration as well is, are you wearing the right sneakers? Because depending on if your sneaker is providing proper support for your foot, that alignment will follow throughout the entire leg, and that could be also part of the problem. And general running mechanics as well. If somebody can put you on a treadmill and record you while you're running, that will give them a lot more information about where's your body in space and if you're running appropriately. So you go from the most simple to the more complex based on what you feel that you need.
That's great advice. I always recommend get it checked out. If in doubt, check it out and go speak to someone because they're going to be able to help you. But yeah, new shoes, seeing a specialist, all of these things are really helpful.
And that's all we have for now.
Awesome. We are going to move on to section number 2, which is injury recovery. We're talking a lot about injury today. I guess we are 9 weeks out from the TCS New York City Marathon. Yeah. So we've spoken about injury prevention for the first part. I want to talk about what happens when you do get injured, because we know runners are unfortunately going to get injured during training. What is the difference between an injury versus soreness? Because, you know, we're in that bulky part of our training where we're putting a lot of miles on our body. So can we walk us through the difference of what is pain versus what's just us being tired?
Yeah, so let's maybe describe what is normal expected soreness after short or long runs. So it will be muscle that pain that you feel mainly on your muscles. Sometimes it can be around the ligaments and tendons as well, but it's something that usually will go away within a couple of days after your run. It's something that you feel primarily when you're moving, and you don't feel it as much when you're resting. It's something that the intensity is not very high. If you think of pain between 1 and 10, it wouldn't be a very high number. So that would be sort of expected. On the other hand, if you have had pain that is there when you're resting, that seems to be a pretty intense kind of pain, like a sharp type of pain, not just a dull, aching pain, that could be a sign that maybe you have an injury, or you're in that direction of being injured, and pain that is there when you're resting. Especially if you look at the area and it's not only painful, but you also see signs of maybe inflammation. That would be also possibly a sign that the tendon or the muscle or the ligament is putting way too much effort, and you haven't had maybe enough rest to recover.
Do you notice it as well if, you know, you're running and maybe you're changing the way you're running to kind of compensate?
Yeah, that's a good thought. Yeah, it happens very often that you can change a little bit the way you run, and you can sort of dampen or fully stop the pain. Like, for example, if you're feeling pain around your knee and you start to change your landing more towards the ball of the foot or a flatter foot, you could change the angle and the impact of your body on the ground, and you could unload some of the pressure from the structure that is hurting. Also, if you change your pace, you could potentially also unload some of the tissue that is hurting at the moment. And if that's the case, then most likely it's nothing to be too concerned about, unless it continues to happen on every single run. If you cannot change it if you cannot stop the pain by changing those little things, then maybe you have something that is a little more concerning.
So if you're in pain, get that checked out. And if it's just muscle soreness, muscle tired, maybe then a little bit of rest might be really helpful for you. How do runners know if they should go to see a PT or a doctor if they have an injury, or how do they know if they should just maybe take a few days off? What would you recommend?
So when you're in pain, I think it's completely fine to first take a little break and maybe ice the area more, rest, maybe see if you can massage the area, all those things that we know for recovery. If then you go back to your training maybe a few days or a week later, and the same pain continues to happen, and it happens sort of how we just mentioned, that is there, even if you're just walking, for example, that would be a sign. If you have pain that is accompanied by swelling, or if it's a pain that is pretty high intensity and sharp, then those could be signs that you should see somebody, and that somebody can be anywhere from a physical therapist to a physician assistant to a physician, and it depends where you are and how soon they can see you and how accessible it is. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely don't try run through pain. Go and get it checked out. When a runner comes into HSS with an injury, what is the process for that runner?
At HSS here, we have different services. It also depends on how quickly you feel that you want to be seen. For example, we have a program called Ortho Now, or Orthopedics Now, in which you need to make an appointment, but you most likely will be seen within a day or two. Physical therapists throughout the United States, in many states, you can see them right away without having to see a physician. The law changes by state. in New York State, you can see a physical therapist directly within 30 days. And if you need to see a physician, usually it can take a little bit longer to get an appointment with a physician. But I think the decision depends on how soon you want to be seen. And at HSS, we will first, whoever sees you, we will analyze you in terms of your strength, your flexibility, your body mechanics. We will see how you're running. We will help you determine if your footwear is appropriate or not, and then build up a routine of activity or exercises that will hopefully start to decrease the symptoms, and then go from there.
Awesome. I love that. All right. Throwing it back to the chat. Have we got any more questions? Any shout outs?
We have one question, which is, should we aim for distance or time for long runs?
Distance or time for long runs? I love that question. There's different pools of thought for either. Some people love running in miles because they love that tangible, I'm going to be doing X amount of miles this weekend. But, for group training, how we do things here, we do a time, because then that gives you less pressure. So I'm going to go out and run 100 minutes, and then you're going to build up naturally that way. So that's going to allow you, that time on your feet. And then we kind of cap that at around that 3 hour 15 mark for our long runs. So there really are pools of thought for either of these options. Both have their benefits. If we are, a quicker runner, sometimes those miles, we get through them quicker. But if we're a slower runner, we don't want to be out there on our long runs for more than that 3 hour 15 for our long run. So, speaking to a coach can be really helpful on that, and kind of coming up with that plan that works for you and sticking to that plan that works for you. I train athletes with both, and both are fantastic.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. I think again, it goes back to knowing yourself also in terms of the pace. But yeah, I agree with everything you just said.
And remembering as well that our long runs should be slower than our midweek faster runs. So we're going to be out there for slightly longer than we would on a tempo run as well. So really, again, listening to your body and picking something that you like, because you're the one that's going to be training for the marathon or for the race.
That's all our questions.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us, Hector, today.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
It was fun. I hope you all enjoy the beautiful weather that we have today in New York City, that high heat and humidity that Hector loves.
That I love.
That I can't wait. Tomorrow looks absolutely beautiful, 70 degrees. But thank you all for watching. We'll see you at the next Coaches Chat. Have a great day.
Thank you.